everyone. I'm Swapna Gajjala and I heartily welcome you all to PSSM Global's new show, Soul Connect. PSSM Global is an initiative to strengthen the roots of Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement worldwide. PSSM's sole mission is to spread Anapanasati meditation, plant based food, spiritual science, and beneficial uses of pyramid energy to one and all. One of the 18 guiding principles of PSSM emphasizes on listening and sharing meditation experiences to enhance one's spiritual progress. Through this show, we want to connect you all to various spiritual masters across the globe who will share their words of wisdom, their journeys, and experiences. I am very happy and excited to welcome our guest, Jana Siedenhans. Her roots in Germany, Jana experienced her spiritual awakening after a longer transitional period in her second haven, Australia. Her passion is to create connection in a multitude of ways, and she's a dynamic consciousness coach. Her guidance comes from combination of professional skills, life experiences, and genuine interest in people. She is grateful for being a founding member of the J. Shetty Certification School. She believes that it is possible for all of us to find a well-connected pathway of living. For her, life is soul food workshop. Hearty welcome, Jana, to the show.
Thank you so much, Swapna. I'm so happy to be with you. Hi.
Hi, and we are very excited and very eager to hear your journey.
Thank you, Swapna. Actually, I am really, really excited about this
Sure.
invitation.
So, my first question is, can you tell us like how your spiritual journey started and how you connected to your soul?
Mhm. It's actually pretty hard to say when it really precisely started because there kind of has always been something about like an urge or a need or a, a longing for connection, connecting people, and it was kind of driving me for many ways, many years. Though I was not truly getting what it was about. I knew it was about communication and people, but I tried different career options in the business of communication, and it never felt truly right because it somehow felt about. It was a combination of trying to express something, but at the same time trying to hold something back in all of these jobs, and so it just didn't feel convincing. And it took me really some years to develop my way forward, coming from experiences around away from what is not the right thing. So it was a lot of try and fail and error in a way. And with time, I understood that it's more about a longing for finding and creating authentic connection, that it was about connecting genuinely, something with ourselves and between each other. And it wasn't a clear level for a long time. And during these years, which actually have been in total maybe 15 years, I went on a journey through New Zealand and Australia in 2016, which was, I would say, my first experience of different types of connections. I was traveling alone mainly, and got into contact with myself, because you start to listen to this inner voice of yourself. If there's no one of your normal friends, family, or surrounding you, you start to listen to your inner voice, you start to make different decisions, and you wonder, where's that coming from? And so there was this start of connecting to myself, and I also discovered my love for hiking and experienced the primal energies of New Zealand and Australia in nature and wildlife. So it was like kind of a door opening there. And I had really experiences of deep contentment and kind of confident in life that I didn't feel before during that time. And when I was back in Germany, I would say I kind of disconnected a bit again, because it left me in my everyday life that I went back to. But it was like as if a door had unlocked that I was not yet ready to step through somehow. So after that, it took me 2 more years of trying to find and understand my longing for a connection before I really decided to quit my career path in that company that I had been with after 18 years in total, not yet knowing how to go on. And so I went back to Australia, where I had intense connection to people, to the nature, to wildlife, to rearrange my life stars in a way. And during that time, I had some very important encounters making me aware of me wanting to go back to Australia, live there for a longer period of time. So I once again went back, that was 2018, to Germany, arranged everything, organized everything to go to Australia. And in a way, I did a lot of things to prepare my new life after my career path, the end of my identity in my old company and everything, on an obvious level in the external world. But I failed in that time. I failed to prepare myself for in my internal world, like not thinking about my identity, thinking about passports, where to move furniture or whatever, but not really getting closer to that question of, hold on, who am I? Because I just had left my identity of work life. And yes, I think when I then went back to the other side, it's important for me to let you know that as, how can I say, after my arrival in Australia, many things developed completely different from I expected them to develop. So what I hope to be a starting point for something new first turned out to become an ending point of all my former identities, because I left my job, I left the identity of my heritage. I went to another world. I had organized a lot of things for building up an external new world, but those fell apart, and then there was nothing left in a way. There was no old identity, there was no new one. And that was an intense period in my life where I kind of was plain enough and not distracted anymore from the outer world, where I experienced huge, for me, events or happenings around spirituality. I experienced synchronicities for the first time consciously. I experienced meaningful coincidences within that time for the first time. A lot of things happening in nature, and I kind of started to move towards myself, into myself, in a very challenging time. And that was also where I started meditating daily. And while all these things were happening with coincidences and synchronicities, while I was meditating, I for the first time connected to that conscious part of my being existing under all these thoughts and emotions. And at the same time someone gave me a book that was really unlocking the door of spirituality to me. It was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So many things that I was experiencing at the time, he was describing in that book, and the dotted lines kind of fell into a combined line. And so I really, for the first time, consciously connected to this higher self we have in ourselves, that is content, happy, always there as soon as you start or are able to get the mind to rest. And I also experienced moments during meditation where this connection to this inner part of myself grew up to an extent that you got this experience of something inside of you is growing so healthy and so softly that it kind of dissolved the shape of my physical being. And like these moments where I experienced, oh gosh, we are so huge, so large, beings, we contain multitudes. So these were these experiences that I had at that time, and that were, yeah, the main part of, I would say, my spiritual awakening, and they changed my point of view to life at that time. And I had somebody reaching out to me from Germany who was guiding me during that time. And I did not reach out to that person, but that person reached out to me, very spiritual person, kind of knowing what was going on with me, and was accompanying me. And he brought it to the point, because he said, what you have been longing and looking for so long finally had found you. Yes, and that is what I would say about my spiritual awakening. And since then, I have a different attitude and approach towards life. And as things had turned out differently from what I wanted them to be in Australia, I came back to Germany last year and took on the challenge, I would say, to combine a life connected with spirituality with an everyday life in our normal physical level of being. And that's where I stand right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. They say that when the right time comes, everything falls in place.
It did.
A book coming into your life and you meeting the person who could give you the direction and assurance that, yes, now is the time, right?
Yes, it was like that. Though it is a bit like, I wouldn't rather say, it does not feel like you're not clear on now is the right time. Actually, it can be very confusing. And in a lot of times, it happens at least for me, it happened in a challenging time of my life. It was not like awakening to a fairy tale, right? It was really like insecurities, a lot of open questions, the feeling for energies that you never felt before, where you really also ask yourself, can this be? And then things, yes, fall into line in a way. But it takes the time to get there. Yes, and these times are, challenging times.
Challenging times, you're right. So I heard that like you're a consciousness and transformation coach.
Yes.
So what was like your reason, your motivation behind becoming one?
Well, the motivation, that is the purpose of my life, as I already said, is connection. Connecting people genuinely with themselves and with each other. So I really, though a lot of things were quite unclear for a lot of years, this strong driving force within myself has been there quite clearly for a long time. So I did my first coaching education in 2010 and was guiding people as a coach already in occasional aspects of the last years. Because there is nothing like the beauty of authentic connection as in total, or from a spiritual aspect, we are interconnected anyway. And bringing that connection on the energy level into the relationships we have in this physical world is my driving force.
Absolutely. I think that is what is, your spiritual progress reflecting on your physical, materialistic, like our day-to-day life. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you apply and how you try to bring all that wisdom and, live it in a positive way, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And so what is the key to transformation for any person?
Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, what you can say is consciousness is on very, very different levels is the key to transformation. Because that's where you always start with awareness around something. Do you know this feeling of wanting to reach something, wanting to do something, but something is blocking you, and you kind of you want to go there, but there is something keeping you back? Do you know that situation?
Yes.
And I think that's many people knowing that situation, and it first needs the consciousness of what is blocking me. Is it something external? Is it another person? Or is it within me? So consciousness can be within ourselves, but also between people. And from there, it's about getting the awareness of what is my part in that blocking, even if it is with another person. Turn inwards and find what is the trigger in your own blocking. And from there, if you unlock that consciousness, and that's why I am a consciousness and transformation coach, the power of consciousness coming from the connection to yourself or with others is the driving force of transformation.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, first of all, it is the person who wants to transform, as you said, they also need to set an intent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just realizing that you need to change something in yourself or to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
It's about trying to, have that intention and that motivation to consistently try,
Exactly.
and try to reach that certain point, like what you want to do.
Exactly.
Many times I come across this situation wherein yes, I set an intent and we are trying to do something, and then suddenly there will be a pause. So, and you're constantly trying to think why this is happening and how do I come out of it, and you're kind of you get a feeling like you're stuck. What is your suggestion, like when you come across a phase wherein you feel you're stuck, even though you're very clear about what you want to do?
It's not only about knowing where you want to go, like knowing your intention. It's also, and that is once again that point of consciousness, knowing where you are. Because, if I want to visit you, I need to go, whether I need to leave Germany to get to you, or whether I need to leave India, or whether I need to leave America. Only the intention to where I want to go is not enough to understand how I can get there. I need to know where I am actually as well. And that means, so where I am struggling currently, where I am insecure, what in fact, in most of the times, it's an aspect of shame or fear holding us back. Digging down to the root of what is occupying or blocking us, finding the root of shame or fear around something, and from there understanding that within that fear there is an information. Don't run away from fear. Fear can mean, if you take a fear for real all of the time, it can mean that you take it for granted, like take it for real and run away. Or fear can also mean moving closer to that fear, looking into the fear, looking at the fear. And all of a sudden, if you really look at it, it normally becomes smaller because you gain clarity and you gain the information that is needed for your next steps. So you gain the information what is lacking. And from there, you can find the next steps of acting to align to what you want to reach. But first, find the fear in your present situation and find the missing link in there, because fear can be something like, I fear of being abandoned when I do this. So first find out how can you get sure whether you're abandoned or not, or sometimes you even can make sure that you're not abandoned, or you can get aware of, is it abandonment when that person is leaving? There are so many other beautiful people in my life. Am I really abandoned? So there are many ways of getting answer to that information in the fear. And from there, starting to act, saying like, okay, if I fear that this person is abandoning me, I might ask that person for several things before I do what I want to do. Or I might talk to friends about how it feels with that person, how genuine it is, and how important it truly is, or what it would mean if that person would abandon me, deny me for what I want to do. Just as one try to explain it, yes. And from there go on. But it's really, fear can be, how can I say, just drop everything and run away. Or it can be finding the information raising awareness, acting aligned, and rise in the end.
Beautiful, beautifully said. That's so true. So people talk about spiritual enlightenment. So what it means to you?
That's a really interesting question, because while I was reading that book of Eckhart Tolle, for example, I had the expectations of myself that maybe within a half year's time or a year's time, I will only be the observer in my life. I will have all my monkey mind in a calm place, always being in huge state of consciousness. And the truth is, during this time of my spiritual awakening, I had a lot of these moments. I also had moments of no mind twice while I was not meditating for a longer, like for half an hour or something. But coming back to everyday life, it kind of changed, because it's adapting spirituality with reality in a way, or let's say adapting the reality of our non-physical being with the reality of our physical being. So for me, it is important to say that spirituality means having got to the understanding that we have a physical and a non-physical level of being, getting the awareness about the energy connecting all lives on earth, interconnectedness, and getting aware of how you can always connect with that non-physical level when you meditate and when you get your mind to rest. So this is my understanding of a basic part of spirituality. And enlightenment, honestly, I can't tell you how whole enlightenment looks like. But there are enlightened moments on our paths, and that's part of spirituality as well. When you have this moment of a deep insight, a deep clarity that goes along with a feeling of contentment and confidence in life, though it is a huge insight, that comes from intuition, that comes from your higher self. And it doesn't come with fear, it comes with clarity and contentment, because that's part of our higher self. And a day or two later, when you start to move forward to that insight where you want to go, you might feel fear again because you're back in a challenging situation. That doesn't mean that you're not spiritual anymore. And that doesn't mean that you didn't have an enlightenment aspect on your way. You stepped into a next level in a way, where you're challenged again and where you will have enlightened moments again. Enlightening also means gaining from other people's experiences around spirituality, growing together. And these are all aspects of enlightenment and spirituality. It's not like switching on a light and it's always there and you just once push the button.
Yeah. That's the sole purpose of this show too, wherein we want to learn from experiences and others' journeys to inspire, ourselves and move ahead in the path. So you were saying that The Power of Now is one of the books that influenced you. Are there any other books that actually influenced you in this path?
Yes. It's The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho, a book that, interestingly enough, came into my life for the first time when I was 18 and came back into my life last year. And reading it after my experiences around spiritual enlightenment, it was a completely different book, actually, because there's so many different things to find in there. I also read a lot, which is not necessarily bound to books, but I get a lot of inspiration by people sharing their enlightenment or their experiences on Instagram or on Facebook. I was highly influenced by Jay Shetty, that I got to know, like his work. I got to know his work, I think 2 years ago. And the way he can address wisdom to people in this heartfelt way is part of my spirituality as well, because we have a lot of wonderful masters in this world that are enlightened and on a very spiritual way. connecting with all the people around means being aware or being able to show the art of simplicity, making it understandable in a way for people that have not been at the place where you might have been already. And this is where I also gain a lot of inspiration from, as bringing things to other people and things resonating with myself in a simple way. It's the biggest art to spread spirituality.
So I believe you teach meditations too for Beam Group on Mondays. And are there any other programs that you're planning to?
So present on Inside Timer with meditations, and I frequently share meditations there as well that I record, and also putting up some courses there for, well, a lot of people say comfort zone challenge. For me, it's about courage zone growth. So I'm working on some courses that I will put up there as well. Yes, and of course, I'm always online on Instagram and Facebook myself, sharing insights, addressing to people, and also sharing the wisdom of my coaching clients, but not naming my coaching clients. But whenever I work with clients, there's so much wisdom that I gain from them, because we're all masters in this world.
Beautiful, awesome work, Jana. Thank you. And I also wanted to know, like, what is your advice or suggestion to seekers, like who are just beginning in this path? Like, what do you think is the right kind of mindset one needs to have?
The right kind of mindset is being patient, not expecting to experience huge differences overnight, but meditating daily without trying to be a professional. Like, meditate in a way that comes comfortable to you, so that you can really align with your breath and be with your breath in that meditation. And do that on a daily basis. And even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, from there, things start to happen in small steps, but they do. Your mind starts to calm down in a way that you could not even think it could happen. Very slow, very tiny moments in the beginning, but that's where it all starts. And one more thing that I really highly recommend is single tasking. As good as possible, it's not always possible, but as good as possible, step back from multitasking and grant yourself time and practice of single tasking.
Absolutely. That's a very apt thing. That's what even was lingering in my mind, because people say that, hey, he's a multitasker or she's a multitasker. But when I observe, you can do multiple things, but at a single time with mindfulness, the way you handle the task that you're currently doing is what really makes the difference.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely beautifully said, Jana. Thank you so much, Jana, for the beautiful words of wisdom and sharing your journey and giving us a lot of insights into transformation. We look forward for your collaboration with PSSM Global. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy about all the opportunities I have with PSSM to spread so wonderful wisdom around meditation together with all of you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
So friends, as Jana said, to get where we want to be, first we need to know where we are right now. It is important to make a commitment and begin an awareness practice for that transformation to happen. Thank you all for joining us today. We have more speakers coming in our next episodes, so stay tuned. For upcoming events and programs, please visit www.pssmglobal.org, and please do subscribe to PMC Global on YouTube.